year, Chag Matan Torah, the celebration of the gift of Torah. Hashem gave us the best gift ever given, the gift of receiving the Torah, and we're really building up and we're getting ready for it. And we've got to understand a little bit about it, because I grew up with a strong Jewish identity, but I didn't really connect to Shavuot at all. We did Pesach, was cool. I like Pesach, I get it. The Jews are slaves in Egypt. Let's leave Egypt, let's eat matzah. I get that. How about Rosh Hashanah, blow the shofar is good. It's the new year. Let's celebrate New Year. Yom Kippur, okay, I sinned. I say sorry for my sins. Sukkot, I guess I didn't really understand what that was, but it seemed kind of cool. Go and live in a hut. I like camping. Why not camp for a bit? It's good. Hanukkah, light 8 candles, bring light into the darkness, get some presents, eat some donuts. It's good to me. I get that. Purim, let's dress up and get drunk. Not sure why. Probably they tried to kill us and we won, so let's get drunk about it. I kind of get that. What's Shavuot? Shavuot's amazing. It's a hidden kind of festival. Number one is, in the Torah itself, it doesn't mention anything about it being the day of receiving the Torah. It's all about harvest and new fruits, and it's, I don't know, don't say, surely it should say, and you shall celebrate in the 3rd month of leaving Egypt, the giving of the Holy Torah. Don't say that in the Torah. Not only that, it's the only festival in the Torah that it doesn't give a date for. Rosh Hashanah, it says, 1st of the month. Yom Kippur, 10th of the month. Sukkot, 15th of the month. Pesach, 15th of the month. He gives dates. Shavuot, no date. It just says 50 days after Pesach, you're going to have this festival. Bit hidden. And how about this? No mitzvahs. What's the mitzvah? Shavuot, Matan Torah. We're receiving the Torah. What's the Torah? The Torah is giving us the mitzvahs. And so what's the mitzvah? Rosh Hashanah, I blow the shofar. Brilliant. Sukkot, lulav and etrog. Get it. Chanukah, light candles. Pesach, eat matzah. What's the mitzvah on Shavuot? There are no mitzvahs to do. So it isn't a crazy idea. Eating cheesecake isn't a mitzvah, by the way, if that's what you were thinking. It's a nice thing to do, not a mitzvah. So we've got to work out what's Shavuot all about, because really it is the highest and the holiest day of the year. So this is what our sages are really telling us. We left Egypt. This is the beginning of the cosmic tale of the Jewish people. We were slaves in Egypt, and on a deeper spiritual level, that means we were slaves to the physical world. Now, Judaism teaches, especially if you've been watching my classes over the last few weeks about spiritual journeys, that the soul coming into the world is like our spiritual side coming into Egypt, the restricted consciousness of physicality. And the purpose of our journey is to connect back to our souls, even though we're in this physical body with pressures and responsibilities and difficulties and negative character traits, and we're in Egypt. So Pesach, we leave Egypt. We said, okay, let's get away from our slavery to our ego and our slavery to our negativity. Let's get away from that. And we crossed the sea. And so we finally had freedom from slavery. And it's very important. And our sages teach us that the biggest difference between slaves and free people is time. A slave doesn't get to choose what they do with their time. They don't get to choose when they eat or when they sleep or even what they're doing when they're awake. But a free person gets to choose what I do with my time. So there's something called freedom from restrictions, but then there's something much greater. And that's called freedom to. What am I going to do now that I'm free? What am I going to do with my time? How am I going to fill my time? How am I going to use my time? Am I going to waste my time? Am I going to put it towards living a purposeful and meaningful life? So every single person, I've never met one person in the world who doesn't want to live a successful life. You want to have success in your life. The question being, how do you define success? What is success? What does it mean to be successful? So being successful means to reach the purpose. You got to reach the purpose. If you want to be a successful businessman, achieve the purpose of your business. Make money, sell cars. If you want to be a successful sports person, be really good at your sport, make money doing it. So if you want to have a successful life, you better know what the purpose of life is. What am I meant to do? What am I meant to be aiming towards in my life? So this is what the giving of the Torah is all about. The giving of the Torah is saying, this is what you're created for. There's a game. You're in the game for 100 or so years, Be'ezrat Hashem, and you've got to achieve something in the game. And the purpose of life is to reconnect to your spiritual nature, your spiritual essence with your soul. That's the whole game. And everything in this world, this whole world, is kind of the training. It's the training scene. I don't know if you've watched Rocky or any martial arts films. You love the training. I love the training. My whole life, I lived in Asia for 6 years training martial arts. It was all based on Rocky and Karate Kid and Kickboxer. They were training, but you got to train. You're training for the fight, you know. It's all about, what am I training for? So this world is the training ground. And what we have to do is we have to strengthen our connection to spirituality. That's it. Connection to our soul, connection to God. This is the purpose of life. And we have to be able to use the physical world in order to do that. So the Torah is a list of mitzvahs, and everybody knows this by now, that mitzvah means connection. It also means a commandment, but it means a connection, a chibor, a joining together of physicality and spirituality. This is the whole path of the Jewish masters. The Jewish masters say that the purpose of life is to be spiritual, but that doesn't mean to separate from physicality. It doesn't mean to go and sit in the cave and don't get married and don't touch money and don't eat nice food. It means you have to be very, 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 very deeply spiritual through uplifting the physical world. And the only way you can uplift the physical world is if you're partaking of it and engaging in it in a very, very highly conscious way. So this is what the Torah has come to teach us. It's a guidebook. It's the instruction manual. It's saying, follow these pieces of advice. The Zohar, the foundational book of Kabbalah, actually teaches that these pieces of advice. Mitzvahs themselves are, this is how you're going to win the game. This is how you're going to achieve your purpose. This is how you're going to be successful in your life. So the sages say there are really 3 modes of expression once the soul is in this world, and those are thought, speech, and action. So our goal in life is to get our thought, speech, and action in line with our soul. So how do we know how to do that? What thoughts do we need to be thinking, and what things do we need to be saying, and what actions do we need to be doing to be in line with our soul? Because if you ask a Buddhist master, he would say, well, firstly, he'd say you don't have a soul, but that's a different topic. But he'd say you need to detach from physicality. That's how you're going to get everything in line with spirituality. And a Christian maybe would say to you, you have to accept a certain, actually, rabbi into your heart who died for your sins, and by doing that you're going to cleanse your soul. There are many different ideas of how you do this, but Judaism says God, the Creator himself, gave us the guidebook of how to align ourselves with spirituality, how to align ourselves with our soul. So the Torah says these are thoughts you have to be thinking. You can't be thinking thoughts of revenge and taking a grudge. These are what you have to be saying. You can't say lashon hara. You can't say bad things about people. And there are some certain acts that you might not understand how they work, but there are certain acts that empower your soul. They feed your soul. Shaking a lulav and etrog, that's feeding your soul. Somehow we don't understand why. They're all different Kabbalistic ideas. We keep watching HTV to find out at each festival as it comes how the mitzvahs are doing that, but we don't really get it. There's a spiritual reality, and the Torah is guiding us towards reaching that ultimate purpose. So this is actually what happened on Mount Sinai. What happened on Mount Sinai is God himself, infinity, complete transcendent spirituality, came down into physicality, came down into the mountain. Bam, physical reality, and met. I think Rabbi Akiva Tat said a beautiful idea. He said what happened was infinite kissed finite, and what was left was the Torah. The Torah was an engraving of how these 2 separate forces come together, which is our body and our soul, by the way. It's the biggest miracle in the world. Your soul is completely beyond time and space. It's a completely spiritual entity. And your body is completely within time and space, and it's going to get old and it's going to die. And somehow these 2 separate forces and separate realities have come together into a human being, into a universe. And we've got to try and balance that out and work out, how am I going to be manifesting my spirituality into the physical world? So that's what we've been doing for the last 49 days. We're on the 48th day. The last 49 days, we're counting up for many, many reasons. One reason is just because we're very, very excited. The Torah is called a gift. It's called Chag Matan Torah. It's the festival of the giving of a gift, the gift of Torah. And as we just said, it's the gift of life. The Torah itself is the gift of life. It's the gift of the instruction manual. Now I know what to do with my life. It's an amazing thing that I know exactly what I'm meant to be achieving while I'm here. So in that way, I can live a meaningful and successful life. But we've also been preparing ourselves emotionally and mentally to be able to receive the gift. Are you going to receive the gift? Because if there's a gift but you're not going to receive it, then it's a waste. It's a complete waste. So the way you receive the gift of Torah is to refine yourself as a person, to refine your physicality, to refine your emotional side, to refine your intellectual side, to refine your character traits, to build a good heart. And from that place of refinement, you can then be filled up with the spirituality of Torah. So these 49 days, the number of physicality is 7. The number 7, the universe was created in 7 days. And there are 7 notes in the scale. And there are 7 colors in a rainbow. And there are 7 sides, up, down, left, right, front, back, and center. 7 is physical. So 49 days of counting is 7 times 7. We're perfecting our physical, emotional, intellectual kalim, our vessel, in order to receive on the 50th day, which is beyond. That's beyond us, and that is Torah. That is spirituality. When I lived in Bodh Gaya in India, is the place where Buddha was enlightened, and he sat under the Bodhi tree for 49 days, according to Buddhist legend. And then on the 49th day, he'd completely reached enlightenment. So he got up and started teaching. And this is one of the major differences between Buddhism and Judaism, which is that Buddhism perfected the emotional and the intellectual and the physical side, but then they cleaned their vessel and now got a perfectly shining glass, but they never filled it. They didn't fill it with spirituality. So we say, no, you've got to clean your glass, but then you've got to pour the wine in it. And the wine is the wine of Torah, and the water, really, Torah is compared to water. And Torah is what gives us life. It's our life force. It feeds our neshamas. So one idea I had, I was actually sitting in India, in Bodh Gaya, and I lived in a little cave on my own, and I was like, I need to overcome my ego. That's what I got to do. So I went and I sat in a cave for a few days. And after a while, I thought to myself, this is actually quite egotistical to sit in a cave trying to overcome my ego when there are starving children. So I came out of the cave and I started working in an orphanage. And I went back to the cave at night. But Judaism says the ultimate level of personal refinement doesn't come from separating yourself from physicality in the world. It comes from being in the world and having responsibilities and having a family. If you have many guests coming for Shabbat and it's Friday afternoon and the house is in a mess and your kids are crying and you don't have enough money to pay the bills and you spill the soup all over the floor and everything's going crazy, if you can overcome your ego whilst you're in physicality, whilst you're in responsibility, whilst you're in relationship with the world, that's a much higher level. It's easy to overcome your ego when you're sitting on your own and no one's there to bother you. I heard one of my rabbis once said to me, you know what? I'd be a tzaddik. I'd be a fully righteous person now if there weren't any other people in the world. They mess it up for me because they annoy me so much. So this is the whole path. This is the whole point. The whole point is that Shavuot is saying physical, spiritual together. This is how you walk the path of the Jewish master. This is how you become kadosh. You become holy by combining physical and spiritual. So completely refine your intellect and your emotions and your physicality. But then that should only be there as a key to contain the spirituality, the soul, and to manifest your soul in the world. And that's what we're doing. We have to be there to receive this gift. Now, just to finish with this idea, Shavuot itself, then, it doesn't have any of its own mitzvahs. Why is that? Because we say that the mitzvahs are there to help us connect to spirituality, to our soul. But we say on this day, we're on such a high level that we're just celebrating the direct relationship with soul and Hashem. So we don't even need to do a mitzvah. Sometimes when you're going on a date with someone, you have to talk and you have to express yourselves, and it's very beautiful. But sometimes you just go and watch the sunset together, and you just sit and you just be in each other's presence. So this is really the end of the whole process. We left Egypt, but we left Egypt for a reason. We left Egypt to have the relationship with Hashem. That's what Moshe said when we left Egypt. He said, let my people go, not just let them go so they're not slaves, let my people go so that we can be with Hashem. We can have an intimate relationship. And the relationship is coming through the Torah, the love letter, the ketubah, the marriage document. So on Shavuot, we definitely learn Torah, but the whole point is to just sit and immerse ourselves in the direct relationship of God consciousness that really the Torah is leading us towards. So therefore, yes, it's very, 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 very relevant today. It's completely essential because everybody today wants to have success. Everybody today wants to live a meaningful life. Everybody today wants to live a happy, conscious, moral, conscientious, sweet life. And that comes from the Torah, the guidelines, the instruction manuals. So it's the most relevant thing in our lives. Be'ezrat Hashem, we should all merit to receive the Torah on a much higher level this year and be able to implement it into our lives in a truly conscious and joyful way. Chag Shavuot Sameach.